Hello, viewers of the spell. Welcome to the spell read. I'm sorry if I don't look as prepared or this video doesn't seem as prepared. This is an emergency reshoot because the original video I had intended for the review of Saint Seiya Season 1 is pretty much non-usable. So I'm just trying to get this out quickly because I just spent the last little bit editing it and trying to make it usable, but it wasn't. So, emergency reshoot. Saint Seiya Season 1. It wasn't that good. And just to give you an idea, the IMDb score for Season 1 of Knights of the Zodiac Saint Seiya was 4.6. Now, the original 1980s Saint Seiya, same show, same story, got an 8.5, so you can kind of get which is the better one. Now, Netflix does have both. I would say go with the original personally. But back talking about the story and whatnot, the animation has promise, but they don't really apply it. Because a thing with editing and special effects, you can put an explosion effect over an object and just remove that object. And that's kind of what they do. A lot. You never actually see something explode into pieces, which would be more work. So it's really not that good. The animation is somewhat lazy in points. And the characters also seem to refuse to have any form of cut or any of that, which is a problem with 3D animation oftentimes. I'm guessing it's harder to do that than just like overlay it. I'm not a 3D animator, I don't know. Now, the story isn't that good, and from the standpoint of they took a around 20 episode story arc and condense it down to 6 episodes, even though it's closer to 5, because the first one is completely original and is the only one out of the bunch I would say is actually good paced. So you can kind of get where my stance lies. Now, they did introduce a new villain, Garad. He's not that good, because you don't really want to see the saints, or I guess knights in this version, fight normal soldiers. It just doesn't seem that good. It's just like, boo, you're down. Boo, you're down. Oh, there's a tank. Boom! It's not that good. Not to mention, for the pacing of the show, there is a lot of scenes that I think they put in there to make it seem like, oh, we're not condensing huge amounts of story. No, instead, they have bits that are just kind of like pointless. There's a scene where Seiya is arguing with now it's not with a pothole, or not a pothole, a manhole cover that is like manned in a sense. It's like remote controlled and you got the communication, but he's arguing with it and it goes nowhere. It's like it was meant to be funny, but it really fell short, especially for the amount of story you need to condense. Then you have the Black Knights, which are carbon copies. I don't know what to say. Because, and I'll see if I can find an image, and it'll be right here, but they all have the same body. You just copied and pasted it. That's basic. Now, you could say in the original, the Black Saints didn't look anything impressive, but you could probably say they were carbon copies, but they weren't really. You had the idea that, yeah, they're different people underneath. They just are dressed the same. These guys literally have the same muscle tone. There's nothing really different about them. and the villain Garage just forced. You have Iki, and I can't remember his actual, like, name, because they changed a lot of the names in the new one for questionable reasons. But the whole thing with him just kind of feels a little cheap. Because in the original, you thought he actually killed one of them. And then it's revealed he didn't, but it kind of makes his whole, like, oh, I managed to bounce back your attack, just seem lucky. Like, oh, here's this attack. The only reason in the original he knew to bounce it back, and if you've watched the original you know what I'm talking about, is that he had witnessed the attack before. So that is just there. So yeah, that's mostly my complaints, and I don't really have much good to say. I'm just hoping Season 2 is an improvement upon the original. Sorry if this seems rushed. I am quite literally rushed. This is Spellree, signing off.